Well, good morning, and thank you for your interest in serving at the Soundbooth here at Skokomish Community Church. This video is directed toward those that are interested in volunteering or possibly later on taking over the Soundbooth. I have no plans on leaving the church or quitting my membership here. However, life does get in the way sometimes, or sometimes there's a move needed, and it's best to be prepared than not prepared. So usually I get here at the church a good hour to an hour and a half prior to service or Sunday school on the winter schedule. It will be between you and the Board of Deacons whether or not you will in fact get a key, and that won't be my decision. The first thing I usually do, I get here early. I then walk up to the front door. I will unlock it. I'll walk through the doors and then turn on the lights and then proceed to the sound booth itself. I have a convenient little desk light that I will turn on, and then I will turn on the laptop as well as the desktop that is sitting on the floor. The reason why we have two separate computers is we are recording these services and uploading them to YouTube. And I found in prior videos where I had the audio coming off the laptop itself as well as recording through the laptop that there would be some sort of feedback issue, and I haven't been able to pinpoint where that feedback is coming from within the laptop itself recording through the open broadcast software. I figured it was just easier to get the laptop and desktop separate and just have the audio coming from one computer and then recording to the other computer. My original goal was to have the desktop as the main runner and then have the laptop as the backup. So I'd be recording all the services with the desktop and music and slides off of the laptop, but I haven't made that transition yet. That's just a work in progress. Maybe you will be able to help with that. Anything's really possible. So moving on here.
After the computers are turned on,
I will then come behind the soundboard, and we used to turn everything off by the power strip itself. We needed to keep that turned on. Now turning the soundboard off rather than the power strip underneath the desk. You just flip that switch to the left and it will be turning on. The next thing you'll need to do on the soundboard itself is mic number 1. It's all labeled. Mic number 1 is for the mic back here in the sound booth, and this could change over time, but this is the layout as I have it at the time of this recording. And we use mic number 1 for the congregation itself during prayer time or communion, or if there's any announcements of that type of thing. Bob and Clee are on mics 2 and 3. 4 is discontinued. I think I got that in a drawer back here at the sound booth. 5 used to be Enoch's when he had his music ministry here prior to the Mises leaving. That's just a spare up there on the stage at this time. Wireless is as it says. That's the wireless mic that we got for Pastor when he does a sermon mid-service. That mic will either be back here at the sound booth or it will be up on the stage itself. As it's labeled, number 8 is for the piano, and 9 for the guitar. And then nothing through 10 through 12. 13 is for the DVD player itself. We can also use that for music, as in playing CDs and DVDs for movie night. 14 is important. You got to have that slid up for the company music during service if there's no live music. On the far right, you have these yellow sliders. You need to move that all the way up to 0. In other words, nothing will be playing through the soundboard itself. That's the mains. Up on top of the soundboard, you really don't need to worry about it. We really don't do sound checks here because we're small. And the way it's set right now is basically what it needs to be at, unless we were to have a guest speaker or a guest band come, and then we can adjust the highs and lows. Like the highs are the T's, the t, and the lows are the P's, poo, poo. You adjust that to make it sound good, and you really don't need to mess with it. And then there's the echo effects that we don't mess with, and then the gain. You really don't need to mess with all those dials. They're just set as they are. Just worry about turning up the sliders on 2 and 3. Usually I bump Bob down to -5 because he's a bit louder than Clee, and I usually put Clee at 5, and mic 1 is usually at 0. Wireless, bump that up to 0. For the music, channel 14, that depends upon how loud the accompaniment music is. Also 14 is for the computer as well, for Spotify or YouTube or anything of that sort. It's just the computer itself. So if it's really loud, you might want to bump it down to -20 or 30. That's how you control the volume. Next thing that you need to do is you need to turn on the microphones itself. They don't have phantom power, so they're not powered through the soundboard itself. They have to have separate power. On the
second shelf to the top,
in the little cabinet to your far right, you will see a flashlight. If it's still arranged as it is at the time of you watching this is how I'm explaining it at the time of this recording. But there's a power strip at the very back there. You're going to want to
flip the switch to your left,
and that will turn everything on. And that's all that you need to do in there. So go ahead and close the cabinet doors. Next thing after you're done there, you're going to have to check the battery life on the microphones. You're going to want to check Bob and Clee's mic, and you want to check the Soundbooth mic,
as well as the battery life on the wireless mic.
If they're at 2-bar batteries at the beginning of service, then they're not going to last the length of service. So check the batteries and the microphones.
The replacement AA batteries for the microphones can be found up on the stage to your right behind Clee's monitor.
And while you're up there on the stage, you might as well turn on the cross. The switch for the cross is to your left, looking at the cross. You just flip that there, and it will also turn on the keyboard. You don't have to worry about the monitors up there. Bob and Clee will deal with those. At that time, if we have a guest speaker, you would take that time to get them wired up for service. You would show them on the wireless mic how to turn it on, turn it off, and obviously to pause. Stress that it's important to either have it turned off or pause prior to entering the restroom for obvious reasons. They just need to know how to operate the wireless mic, and you're the one that needs to show them that. Also, with having a guest speaker, sometimes they like having a clicker during their sermon. We have that available at the back of the sound booth. It's kind of finicky. This one's more of line of sight, so you're gonna have to tell them that they have to play with it a little bit, like hold it up over the head, kind of point it towards the sound booth. We just need a better clicker. The clicker itself also has a laser pointer, so that makes it convenient if they need to direct the congregation to look at something on the slide itself.
Be sure to also ask the guest speaker at this time if they have a USB flash drive that they would like you to use during service. They may have their own PowerPoint that they're going to use to accompany their sermon, or they may also have a video that they would like to share.
Moving on to the PowerPoint portion of this video, you will find the PowerPoint itself conveniently located on the desktop of the laptop titled Church. So go ahead and move the mouse over to that folder, double click, and you will either find a folder that has the date of the service, or it will just be in that folder itself. So maneuver to that folder. If there's a folder, you should see the appropriate PowerPoint there, or if it's just in the church folder itself, you will be able to navigate appropriately to that file. Go ahead and double click on that PowerPoint file and it will open up. You will see it. Usually I have these prepared prior to service on Sunday, of course. I prepare these on Thursday usually when we have music practice. But you'll see your PowerPoint, and very important here, to the far right, you will see the slideshow button itself. You will want to click that, and it will project it to the overhead screen. A new window will open up. You're going to want to arrange all your windows to where it's a convenient workflow for you. You're going to want to have the PowerPoint projection window open. You're going to want to have Audacity open, and you're going to want to have Open Broadcast software open. Remember, all the music is on the desktop itself, so you don't have to worry about the music on the laptop. Once you have the PowerPoint projected to the projection screen, you're going to want to open up Open Broadcast software, and it's abbreviated as OBS software. You can see it on the taskbar there on the laptop itself. So go ahead and open that up, and it will take a little bit of time for it to load. Once it loads, go ahead and click out of the update or announcement. And what you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to go ahead and get the scene there to the left. Set that to PowerPoint because you already got the projection screen loaded up, and that will just show the opening slide. At this time, you're going to want to make sure that the camera is set and ready to go. So go ahead and turn the camera on, and you should hear that nifty jingle. Make sure it is plugged in to the computer itself. You will see the HDMI cable dangling to the left here. So go ahead and plug that in. None of the recordings itself is done through the camera. We don't need to worry about a micro USB card in there because we do all the recording through the Open Broadcast software.
However, it is a good idea to set the camera to record to the micro USB as a backup, because errors do happen on the computer, and that way, if you have the camera recording, you will have that backup to upload to YouTube for later on.
Of course, with the camera itself, you're going to want to have it zoomed in towards the stage to where it's good and ready to go for service. Next, after the camera is going, you're going to want to make sure that you get some music playing for the congregation if you haven't done so already. I have my personal Spotify account linked up with this computer. If I were to leave, then maybe you would like to link up your Spotify account, or maybe you would like to play some appropriate CDs prior to service, or maybe you'll just find your own way to have background music prior to service, or we'll have live music at that time that will be playing prior to service. So what I've been doing is I would load up Spotify, and I have a playlist that is titled Church. I also have one that's titled Skoke CC. That's just all the hymns that we have sung here at Skoke. So the choice is yours. Obviously, you're not going to want to play any of my other playlists prior to service because it's not appropriate to the setting. So go ahead and open up Church. This has a whole bunch of different types of music that's appropriate for church. It has hymns, it has contemporary worship, it has Christian rock, all that good stuff. And this is a living playlist, so I'm actively adding more to it as I find appropriate. As you can see, like Toby Mac, City on Our Knees. That's borderline hip hop, but it's appropriate for church. I got a bunch of different stuff in here that could be used for music prior and post service. So go ahead and get that playing, and at that point you can go ahead and, if you feel the need to or feel driven to, you can fellowship with your fellow brothers and sisters, because everything back here at the sound booth is set and ready for service.
Also, be sure to press record in the Open Broadcast software Otherwise, there would be no video for that day's service.
I want to mention here on the desk itself at the sound booth, on top of the DVD player, I have a KVM switch. What that stands for is keyboard, video, mouse. So you can hook those up to this switch here, and you can bounce it between both computers with minimal error. On this switch itself, you'll see a number 1 and a number 2. Number 2 is for the laptop. Number 1 is for the desktop. For the majority of service, I have this KVM switch to number 1 for the desktop because of the music, and then I just use the finger pad on the laptop to change between slides. I don't think I really need to explain how to go between slides on the PowerPoint itself. That's pretty much self-explanatory. Now for the creation of the slides, it's pretty much self-explanatory. All you really need to do is go to the CCLI website and take the song number that Bob has given you. If you were to take over the sound booth, he'd most likely email it to you mid next week, and you would go to the CCLI website, input that song number, you would get the lyrics there, then you take those lyrics and drop it into PowerPoint itself, and then find an appropriate background for the slide, and that's pretty much how you prepare the slides. We do have a catalog songs that are already pre-prepared that I have done within my service here in the sound booth. You can find those on our OneDrive. You see a whole list of websites on the taskbar in Chrome, and the OneDrive is pretty much the blue cloud. If you would click on that there, it will take you to the main page here. No need to sign in, it's already saved. You will find the slides in a few different places. Once you're on the home screen there on the OneDrive, go ahead and click on Worship PowerPoints. Once that loads, you will see a folder that says Worship Songs. Then you'll see one that says Hymns. Don't worry about the one that says Church Service, because when all this was starting up, I'd figure I was going to be uploading the church PowerPoints, and it just was inconvenient. So that's just a folder that has not been deleted yet. Of course, Images shows the communion prayer and prayer time image, so those can be found there. But what you need to do is, if Bob has given you a specific song like Victory in Jesus, go up to the search bar and type in Victory in Jesus, and that should pull up the PowerPoint itself. From there, you open up the PowerPoint, and you will then go to the file and go to the option where it says save or download, and then you will drop that down into the download folder. And once you got everything downloaded, you're going to want to combine all these slides. So then we're going to jump over to another website that I have on the taskbar of Chrome, and I have it conveniently labeled as PPT. Once you're on this website, you're going to want to click in the area where it says drop or upload your files. So go ahead and click there. You're going to want to navigate on over to downloads. From there, go ahead and select Victory in Jesus, and once that happens, it will be in the task menu there. And then from there, you can add all the other slides, as well as the opening slide, the sermon slide, prayer time slide. Once you got all those on there, go ahead and scroll down to the bottom where it says Merge Now, and it will take all those slides, merge it together, and at that time it will give you a download button that you will be able to use to download the service slide for next week. Now, moving on to Thursday night. Thursday night is critically important to service. It gives Bob and Clee the opportunity to get familiarized with the song in the church setting, as well as it gives us the ability to correct any errors within the PowerPoint. Nothing's more worse than the congregation singing along to the PowerPoints and there's a mistake in there. Either it's a misspelled word. A misspelled word is minimal compared to no slides at all or the wrong slides. So Thursday is critically important. It gives Bob and Clee the opportunity to polish up for Sunday, as well as it gives us the opportunity to make sure that the slides match what they are singing, so we're both on the same page. Now moving on to the desktop itself, it's pretty much self-explanatory. You go ahead and sign in. Both the passwords to the computers will be given to you prior to service. I'm not going to have this announced up on this video for obvious reasons, but you will be given the password to the laptop as well as the desktop prior to service. Once you're logged into the desktop, you're going to want to make sure that the KVM switch is switched over to 1, because you notice that there's a flash drive connected to it. Once that's switched over, it will pop up in a window and you'll just navigate on over to the church slide and open it up, and you will be able to see the songs that are pre-prepared for service right there. Prior to service starting, you're going to want to make sure that you're recording with Audacity. So go ahead and launch Audacity at this time. Close out of any announcements or updates that are shown on Audacity. Inside of Audacity, you're going to want to make sure this is recording. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that your recording device is selected. So go ahead and select the drop down menu. Make sure that microphone and then the parentheses to USB audio codec is selected. That is the USB to RCA adapter that we have connected to this laptop itself. If that's not selected, then you're not recording. Next, after that's selected, you're going to want to hit the red record button and do a couple tests on the microphone that's back here itself. So go ahead and turn that on, and you're going to have the Audacity recording, and all you're going to want to do is say test, test. And if you see lines bouncing up and down on Audacity, then you know it's recording and ready for service. Just leave it as that, because you don't want to be forgetting to record pastor's sermon or getting half of pastor's sermon recorded. So if you start it now, then you'll not run into that problem, eliminating the possibility for error. After service, you're going to want to clean up the audio. So all you do there is you just open up effects, and I usually just use the effects noise reduction, and then you're going to want to use equalization, compressor, normalize, and low pass filter. And that should give you a clean audio, as you have heard on our website itself. If you need more training on Audacity, then I will give you links to YouTube videos from outside sources, but I am not going to be making my own training video for Audacity itself. At that, after the audio is saved, I will go ahead and jump on over to the website, sign in. I don't know if you're going to be getting a login for the website itself. Obviously, if you're taking over the Soundbooth, then you'll have a login. But I'll go ahead and jump on over to the website, and then I would be uploading it from there. And also at that time, I would be uploading the video from Open Broadcast Software. Of course, it would be, you would hit the stop button once service is done. but I'd be taking that video and then I'd be uploading it to YouTube.
When finished at the sound booth, make sure you clean up whatever mess that has occurred during service, and as well as don't forget to start shutting everything down, which would be in reverse of what you'd done to turn everything on. And also make sure to plug in the keyboard and the mouse so they're not dead next week.
That there pretty much concludes the training of the sound booth. Again, thank you for your interest in serving at the sound booth at Skokomish Community Church, and blessings to you all. Thank you.